When the CEO's wife saw me tear up all my documents and prepare to go all out against her family's huge group, she finally realized she could no longer control me, her husband. But when she saw the divorce agreement I handed her, she was completely dumbfounded. It said I was leaving the marriage with nothing, and even gave up custody of our son. Our marriage has been dead in name for ages. I don't want to keep it going anymore. Signing it is good for both of us. Both you and your mom want Jiang Jingren as your son-in-law. I'm making space for him exactly. After saying that, I left this so-called home cage. I thought the woman would be reasonable and sign the agreement, but I didn't expect she'd tear it to pieces again. I was raised by the Su family to be their son-in-law since I was little. I married Su Qingwan when I was 20. We had our son Gu Nianchen when I was 22. Our son takes after Su Qingwan a lot. He's always quiet and doesn't talk much. He never initiates getting close to me. Last night he talked to me on his own for the first time. Dad, Uncle Zhang is really sick and dying. His wish is to marry Mom. Will you divorce Mom, please? At that moment, I completely lost hope for this mother and son. Fine, let's get divorced. When we were having breakfast, I handed the divorce agreement to Su Qingwan on my own initiative. What our son said. I thought about it all night. Since she likes Jiang Jingren that much, I'll also give up custody of our son at the same time, and leave the marriage with nothing. All the property that originally belonged to the couple. You can put it under our son's name. Consider it my child support for him. Su Jingwan put down her coffee and looked up. Were you talking to me just now? I looked at the Bluetooth earpiece on her ear and realized she didn't hear a single word I just said. A strong sense of powerlessness welled up in my heart. Every time I talk to her, this is the kind of ignore I always get. I directly flipped the divorce agreement to the last page and handed it to her. Sign it. It won't take you more than a few minutes. Su Jingwan frowned and glanced at me, and was just about to open it to read. Our son ran over. Mom, are you going to play billiards with Uncle Zhang later? I want to go too. Seeing Su Qingwan stand up, I grabbed her wrist at once. Sign first. Su Jingwan finally turned to look at me. She didn't expect me to be this tough. Our son next to us was still rushing her. Hurry up, Mom. If we make Uncle Jiang wait too long, he'll get mad and make you kiss him again. Fine, I'll do you a favor then. The next second, Su Qingwan signed without even reading the content, with the pen right away. The mother and son walked away soon. I didn't look at them again. I held the pen, and right next to her signature, I wrote down my own name. This is the second time our names, mine and Su Qingwan's, have appeared side by side. The first time was on our marriage certificate. The second time is right here. My hand was still trembling slightly after signing. I closed the divorce agreement and sent it to the lawyer I'd already contacted beforehand. Then I went upstairs to pack my things. The wardrobe was full of clothes, and none of them were what I liked. No one knows. Before I turned 16, I loved laughing out loud the most. I loved bungee jumping and street racing. But ever since I married Su Qingwan, I was taught to follow all the rules. I had to be humble and gentle, because all the Su family needed was a qualified Mr. Gu. But even when I acted like that, I only got mocked by Su Qingwan's friends. They said I was a fake person and thought Jiang Jingren and Su Qingwan were a better match. Thinking about all this, and looking at these clothes for Mr. Gu in front of me, I suddenly felt an indescribable nausea. I couldn't help rushing to the bathroom to throw up. I took a while to calm down. Before I lifted my face and looked at myself in the mirror, I suddenly thought getting a divorce was the best decision ever. I don't want to keep living in this cage anymore. I want to break out of this cage and be my true self again. So I called my buddy to come pick me up. The Su family's house isn't my home, and the Gu family, after I married Su Qingwan, they completely ignored me ever since. So that's not my home either. My buddy arrived at the door soon, looking confused. Why did you ask me out all of a sudden? Today's your birthday. Didn't you say you'd spend it with your wife and son a week ago? I froze for a second. I took out my phone and checked my chat history, only to find I did book a birthday restaurant a week ago. I even sent a date message to Su Qingwan, but she hasn't replied to me even until now. I would have felt upset before. But now I'm already numb. Thinking that, I got in the car. I went to the birthday restaurant with my bro. But when we walked in and gave our reservation number, the restaurant manager awkwardly offered us a refund. Sir, the entire restaurant is fully booked by Ms. Su today. She and the young master are here to celebrate Mr. Gu's birthday. We will double your reservation deposit as compensation. No need for the refund. The man standing right in front of you is him. We then walked towards the center of the lobby. Not far away, we heard happy laughter from a family of 3. I saw Su Qingwan with Gu Nianchen, sending birthday wishes to Jiang Jingren. Wish you peace and all the best. Wish Uncle Jiang's wishes come true. And marry my mom and be my dad. I watched the 3 of them sit down happily after giving the birthday wishes. I saw Su Qingwan's gaze, never left Jiang Jingren for even a second. I also saw my son Gu Nianchen thoughtfully pull out a chair for Jiang Jingren, pour him tea, and adjust his clothes for him. We've been married for 5 years. Su Qingwan doesn't even know when my birthday is, let alone send me birthday wishes. And my son has never even poured me a glass of water. My bro couldn't stand it anymore. He was about to rush up to get justice for me, but I held him back. No need, I already signed the divorce agreement with Su Qingwan. My bro took me straight to his place right away. I didn't cry, but he cried and hugged me tight. Su Qingwan is such a shameless woman. Gu Nianchen is an ungrateful little brat. Calm down, okay? What do you mean Gu Nianchen is an ungrateful brat? For these 5 years, you've been revolving around them 24/7. No job, no social life at all. I finally managed to ask you out to hang. And as soon as Su Qingwan calls, you get all excited like a little kid and run home to make hangover soup for her. When your son was in the weaning period and crying all the time, you stayed up baking snacks for him night after night. You poured your heart out but only got betrayal in return. I know you must feel like shit right now. Just cry if you want to, don't hold it in. Listening to my bro rant, I tilted my head back and took a sip of beer. I leaned back on the sofa. I can't cry right now, but I have cried so many times before. When Mother Su forced me to learn all those rigid rules, when I opened up to Su Qingwan but got ignored by her, when I waited for Su Qingwan till 12 on a snowy night, and she didn't come home. I used to be naive enough to hold out hope back then. When Gu Nianchen had a fever in the middle of the night, I called Su Qingwan only to get hung up on. I stupidly hoped we could be a loving couple, with a caring father and a filial son, but they never saw any of my efforts for 5 whole years. I should have woken up a long time ago. I passed out drunk and slept deeply after that. Early the next morning, I suddenly got a phone call from Su Qingwan. She sounded like she had just woken up. Her voice was hoarse. Where is the necklace I wore on Monday? It's in the first drawer of the walk-in closet. Where are the matching earrings? They're in the drawer right below the necklace. After this back and forth, I finally realized we are getting divorced soon. I don't need to do these things for her anymore. I thought about it and gave her a kind reminder. You should ask the nanny to rearrange your walk-in closet. You can ask them if you need to find anything later. We are getting divorced soon. It's not appropriate for you to call me for this kind of stuff. After I finished talking, I heard Su Qingwan hum softly in response. I also heard the sound of a drawer being pulled open on the other end. I thought I had made everything clear, and was just about to hang up the phone, when I heard Su Qingwan give another order. For the next few days at noon, cook seafood congee properly, and deliver it to the CEO's office of Su Group. Then she hung up right away. It seemed all the things I said about divorce went in one ear and out the other again. I took a deep breath. My fingertips were shaking with anger. I blocked Su Qingwan right away. After thinking for a second, I also blocked the phone number of Gu Nianchen's kindergarten teacher. But I forgot to block Mother Su. So after I got enough sleep and got ready to go out for lunch, she stopped me and dragged me into her car. She threw a stack of photos right in my face. All of them were intimate photos of Su Qingwan and Jiang Jingming. You've disappointed me so much. Ever since you were 16 years old, I've trained you personally bit by bit. 10 years have passed. How come you still can't even hold on to your wife's heart? If I knew you were this useless, I never would have looked down on Jiang Jingren for being an illegitimate child back then. The sharp edge of the photo cut a wound on my neck. When I was chosen as the future son-in-law of the Su family, many of my friends envied me for my good luck. But the price was I lost all my freedom when I turned 16. My whole life was just to be the qualified Mr. Gu for them. I was so crushed I could barely breathe. Back when I was in 12th grade, I deliberately rebelled and had a puppy love affair. I even made a fuss right in front of Su Qingwan. I thought she would call off the engagement. but she didn't say a single word. Soo-kyung-wan and I were only married for 5 years, but I've been manipulated for 10 whole years. I've had enough. Soo-kyung-wan and I have already signed the divorce agreement. I didn't fight for custody. I left the marriage with nothing. If you're not satisfied, you can find a more suitable son-in-law. After saying that, I opened the car door and got out. Mother Sue froze for a second. Then she immediately flew into a rage. She grabbed my wrist tight. "Guyanti! How dare you!" Mother Sue's sharp, bright red painted nails dug into my skin. It stung like a needle prick, but I laughed. There's nothing I dare not do. Being the Sue family's son-in-law was never an honor for me. I pulled up my sleeve, and for the first time showed an outsider, the old scars all over my wrist. When Mother Sue saw the twisted centip-like scars, she was so shocked that she let go of my hand. I don't want to be Mr. Gu at all. Do you know what I yell every single time? I'm dreaming over these 10 years. I'm screaming. Someone please save me. But now I realize the only one who can save me is myself. Only when I can be my true self freely can I truly live. I finished speaking calmly, then opened the door and got out this time. Mother Sue didn't stop me again, but the suffocating feeling in my chest wouldn't go away. I had to let it all out. So I took out my dusty bright red supercar, hit the gas and drove out. I guess Soo-kyung-wan is just bad luck for me. I was crossing the intersection when I crashed head-on into a Maybach. The license plate had 5/8. It was Soo-kyung-wan's car. Someone quickly got out of the other car. It was Soo-kyung-wan's assistant. The assistant froze for a second when he saw me. "Mr. Gu." I wasn't surprised by his shock. We've been married for 5 years. Everyone around Soo-kyung-wan has long had a stereotype about me. A guy like me street racing. It's bound to surprise people. I didn't explain anything. I just handed him a business card and told him to contact me for any compensation needed. After that, I put on my sunglasses, hit the gas, and drove off. The assistant quickly got back into the Maybach and told Soo-kyung-wan, "President Sue, the driver of the other car, is Mr. Gu." Soo-kyung-wan pinched the bridge of her nose and said coldly, "Let's go." It was like the driver on the other side. Whether he was her husband or a total stranger made no difference to her at all. The assistant got the hint and didn't ask any more questions, but no one expected that 3 hours later the couple would run into each other again. At that time, Soo-kyung-wan was signing a land development agreement with a partner and came to the suburban racetrack. A racing competition was going on here. A red sports car with an absolutely dominant and thrilling vibe won first place. The racer got out of the car, wearing a dark red tight racing suit. He had a tall, slim figure. He was so eye-catching that no one could look away. Even Soo-kyung-wan, obviously, looked surprised and impressed, until the racer took off his helmet and showed his face. The assistant kept gasping in surprise. "Mr. Gu is actually so good at racing?" Wow. Soo-kyung-wan didn't respond. She just frowned slightly when she saw the adoring looks from the women around landing on that tall figure. When I noticed Soo-kyung-wan's gaze, I didn't look up to greet her. Over the years, except for high-end fancy banquets, when we ran into each other, she usually pretended she didn't know me. So when the out-of-town race organizer introduced me to Soo-kyung-wan, I pretended I didn't know her either. "President Sue, I've heard so much about you." Soo-kyung-wan still kept a straight face. The atmosphere got awkward for a moment, until Jang Jingren's voice came over. "Hey everyone, Soo-kyung-wan, are you done yet? If you are, let's go back to the company for dinner." I turned around and saw Jang Jingren get out of the Maybach. He walked over and put his arm around Soo-kyung-wan's waist like no one else was around. Jang Jingren probably didn't think I was worthy of being his rival in love. He even smiled at me. After they walked away, someone sighed. President Sue even brought Mr. Jiang with her to work. They have such a good relationship. Soo-kyung-wan's assistant hadn't left yet. He looked at me with a weird expression after hearing that. I bet he was thinking to himself, how can there be such a useless man? I didn't say a word and left the racetrack too. I called my lawyer immediately to ask when I could roughly get the divorce certificate. It requires 7 days of waiting. Another 7 days. No big deal, I've endured for 10 whole years. I can definitely wait 7 more days. But right after I calmed my mood, I got a call from Soo-kyung-wan's assistant. When will the seafood kanji be delivered? Please hurry. Also, young Master Nyeonshin's teacher said, they couldn't get through to your phone. The young master's handicraft assignment wasn't handed in. Would you be able to drop it off? I remembered right before Gu Nyeonshin told me to divorce his mom. I was on a video call on my phone, making his handicraft assignment stitch by stitch. Before I left home, that handicraft assignment was only half finished. I stared at the free-floating clouds in the sky and said calmly, tell Su Qingwan, there's no seafood kanji left, and I won't deliver any ever again. Also, about Gu Nyeonshin's matters, I won't take care of them anymore. And don't ever contact me again. After saying that, I blocked the assistant's phone number too. Meanwhile, at the Sue group, the assistant held his phone looking totally awkward. President Mr. Gu hung up on me. I tried calling again but couldn't get through. It seems like he blocked me. Maybe you can give it a try. Su Kyungwon took out her phone, which was rare for her, scrolled to the contact with the note husband, and sent a message. What are you throwing a fit for? The next second, a red deletion alert popped up in the chat box. This user has enabled friend verification. You are not his friend yet. Please send a friend verification request first. You can chat only after the other party approves your request. The assistant saw the chat records on Su Qingwan's phone screen. The earliest message was already sent a week ago. I didn't know Mr. Gu's birthday is the same as Mr. Jingren's. So yesterday was Mr. Gu's birthday too. President, didn't you send him a birthday gift? I didn't notice. The assistant wasn't surprised by this answer. After all, there were tons of chat records on the phone, and Su Qingwan never replied to any of them. But then he heard Su Qingwan instruct, get him a belated birthday gift. Pick whatever you think is suitable. Okay, President. Right after the assistant finished speaking, before he even took out his phone to pick a gift, he saw Su Qingwan had already started reading documents. He sighed and quietly left the office to pick a gift quickly. In the evening, I received a birthday gift, sent by Su Qingwan's assistant. Sir, this is the belated birthday gift from President Su. It was quite expensive, but I turned it down. I have no idea what Su Qingwan is trying to show. My birthday's already over, what's the point of a gift now? Besides, for the past 10 years, I've only had one birthday wish, freedom. Su Qingwan divorcing me accidentally fulfilled that wish by mistake. I thought during these 7 days waiting for the divorce certificate, we wouldn't have any contact with each other. But after the gift delivery assistant left, I got another message from Mother Su. Gu Yanxi, I don't care if you divorce Qingwan, but before your divorce is finalized, my grandson can't be affected in any way. How would Gu Nyeonshin be affected? He's the one who took the initiative to ask me to divorce his mom. Before I could reply, more texts from Mother Su popped up one after another. If you don't want your divorce to be affected, you must come to the old house as usual this weekend to accompany my grandson. Su Kyungwon doesn't like crowded places. After we got married, she and I moved out of the Su family old house and moved into our wedding villa. After she gave birth to Gu Nyeonshin, we took the kid to the old house every weekend on a fixed schedule. Today happens to be Friday. Normally, I'm the one who picks Gu Nyeonshin up from kindergarten and takes him back to the old house. Su Kyungwon is super busy. She usually doesn't get home before 10 p.m. This time, I went straight back to the old house. I didn't expect when I arrived, Su Kyungwon was already there too. I ignored her completely and headed for the second floor. But Su Kyungwon blocked my way and asked out of nowhere, do you like the birthday gift? I looked at her confusedly. Did she not know I turned down the gift? But that wasn't surprising at all. She treats me like I'm air. Why would she remember if I accepted the gift or not? I didn't want to talk to her, so I just nodded perfunctorily. But I didn't expect what she said next. Nyeonshin is carving a safety amulet for Jingren. Go upstairs and help him finish it. Oh, really? So accepting that birthday gift comes with these extra terms. I deliberately knocked past Su Qingwan and went upstairs without saying a word. Su Qingwan frowned, but he didn't say a word. I made it to the second floor. Gu Nyeonshin was sitting at the desk. Holding a carving knife, he focused intently on carving. I walked over and only noticed that in front of him, there was already a finished peace amulet placed there. He was making an exact copy step by step. My footsteps must have disturbed Gu Nyeonshin. He looked up at me, but the next second, He quickly grabbed from the table the already completed peace amulet. Dad, this amulet was carved by Mom for Uncle Jong. You can't steal it. A sharp pain shot through my chest. The kid I once cherished more than my own life was treating me like a thief. With the face that's the exact spitting image of Gu Nianchen and Su Qingwan, I suddenly could barely hold back the suffocating frustration. You don't have to guard against me like this. I never wanted anything that belongs to someone else. Besides, your mom and I are getting a divorce soon. Soon your Uncle Jong will be your new dad. Gu Yancy, how can you talk nonsense in front of the kid like that? Are you even a qualified father? That's probably the longest sentence Su Qingwan has ever said to me. I turned around. Looking at Su Qingwan's indifferent face, I smiled softly. Yeah, I'm not qualified. Then go find him a qualified father instead. As I finished speaking and headed for the door, Gu Yancy, Su Qingwan walked up and grabbed my hand. Her low voice carried a hint of warning, but right then, Gu Nianchen's smartwatch phone rang. He urged cheerfully, Mom, it's Uncle Jong calling on video. The next second, Su Qingwan let go of me. I watched her walk over to answer the call. The cold look on her face just now was replaced by a smile. I suddenly found the whole thing utterly pointless. I went back to the guest room without a word, shut the door and locked it. The room was freezing. It was clearly June, but I felt like I was lying in a coffin, buried in the cold, dark ground. But at that moment, there was a familiar sense of peace. Ever since I handed the divorce agreement to Su Qingwan, I'd already prepared for a no-holds-barred fight to the end. I had really messy dreams that night, but my internal clock the next day still woke me up at 5 a.m. At this time back in the day, I'd have to get up to make breakfast for Su Qingwan and her son. I rubbed the space between my eyebrows, thinking of Mother Su's threat. I still got out of bed and went downstairs, but I only found out after going downstairs Su Qingwan and Gu Nianchen had left early, said they had a date with Zhang Jingren to watch the sunrise. I found that pretty ridiculous. Anyone with eyes can see. Gu Nianchen doesn't need me as his dad at all, but Mother Su insisted I come back to the old house to stick it out through the weekend. My buddy immediately invited me to the art school to check out girls, said he'd help me get out of my funk. 18-year-old girls are really good at cheering people up, calling me Gege in the sweetest voices. They gave me all the emotional support I needed.
Hanging out at the art school for a few days
Really did lift my mood a lot. My buddy didn't even want to leave. See? I showed you how great these young girls are. Don't you think that Su Qingwan, that old hag, isn't worth pining over anymore? I don't love her anymore. Seeing me getting more fired up, my buddy said, That's the spirit. I'm telling you, you should have gotten divorced ages ago. Literally anyone is more caring than that cold, heartless Su Qingwan. Just pick a nice, obedient young girl to date and marry. Life would be so sweet. I was smiling, about to agree with him, when a cough sounded from behind me. I turned around and saw Su Qingwan and her assistant standing not far away. I pretended I didn't see her, grabbed my buddy to leave. I figured Su Qingwan wouldn't care about this little incident either, but unexpectedly she stepped forward and grabbed me. There's a party I need you to attend, come with me. With that, she didn't give me a chance to refuse, and dragged me straight into the car. I was still a little confused after getting in the car. As far as I can remember, Su Qingwan always treated me like air. No feelings towards me, no opinions either. This aggressiveness she's showing right now, I've only seen it before in my bedroom at night. As soon as I came to my senses, I heard her speak suddenly again. Yancy, for families like ours, suitability is what matters most. I was stunned for a second. Then I realized she was responding to what my buddy and I were saying. I laughed out of anger. So love doesn't matter. Being caring doesn't matter. But your idea of suitability means I have to swallow all my grievances. Why should I? Su Qingwan stared at me for several seconds without saying anything. I didn't want to waste energy trying to guess what she was feeling either. When we arrived at the party venue, I only found out that this was just a small get-together between Su Qingwan's friends. She never brought me to this kind of event before. I actually don't really like any of her friends. After all, they all looked down on me. They kept saying I was a fake, so I didn't smile the whole time. I just tagged along and had some drinks. I got a little drunk later, so I got up and went to the bathroom. Right after I left, someone couldn't wait to ask. Not only did your husband not smile today, he even gave you the cold shoulder. Yeah, Everyone's saying you two are getting a divorce. Who said I'm getting a divorce? Now that I'm married? Gu Yanxi is the only husband I'll ever have in this life. Her friend was a little shocked. Are you serious? Su Qingwan glanced at her and said nothing. Her friend had a weird look on her face. She mumbled a few words after a long pause. Mr. Zhang, who collaborated with you on AI development before, do you remember him? She used to ignore her husband all the time. Wouldn't even let him enter her company. No one even knew he was her husband. I heard he still hasn't won her back till now. If you plan to spend your whole life with Gu Yanxi, then as your friend, I advise you to care more about him. Or else your husband might end up just like hers. Su Qingwan's hand swirling her wine glass froze. She said coldly and firmly, he won't. At the same time, in the bathroom, I just got a text from my divorce lawyer. Dear Mr. Gu Yanxi, the divorce certificate for you and Ms. Su Qingwan has been processed successfully as entrusted. You can come pick it up at the law firm anytime. I finally waited for this day. I couldn't wait to take a taxi to the law firm. I opened the divorce certificate and read it over and over again. From this moment on, I can finally get away from the hellish Su family. After leaving the law firm, my buddy said to celebrate my freedom. First, we'd go have a dinner I was never allowed to have before. Then he took me to a food stall at the night market. Milk tea, barbecue, ice cream. Whatever you want. You can have it all. Smelling the rich aroma of food and meat all around, I finally felt the meaning of being alive. That night we ate skewers and drank beer, laughed out loud as much as we wanted. I ended up laughing till I cried. The shackles that weighed on me for 10 years finally melted away. Maybe I'd been repressed for too long. I took my son Gu Nianchen out of the blacklist. Then I called him. The second the call connected, I said with red eyes, Gu Nianchen, let me tell you, even if you don't like me, I'm still your biological father. I'm the one who took care of you day and night when you were sick and had a fever. I'm also the one who helped you with your homework every day. The moment you called me vicious, for an outsider like Jiang Jinggran, I'm no longer your dad. Don't ever call me dad again. You don't deserve it. Su Qingwan's cold voice came from the receiver. Gu Yanxi! What are you talking about? I was stunned for a second. Then I realized the kid was probably with her. I immediately sneered President Su. If you have time to lecture me, you'd better discipline your son properly.
Do you know?
Your son told me to divorce you, to make room for Jiang Jinggran. The funny thing is, I've done what all of you wanted. After that, I blocked Gu Nianchen again. Early the next morning, I booked a flight abroad. I know perfectly well. I did overreact a bit yesterday. Plus, once the news of our divorce gets out, the Su family will definitely not let me go. They might even force me to kneel and beg Su Qingwan to get back together. Or they might even threaten to make me marry some other wealthy heiress. I'm leaving Jing City, and I'm never coming back. I said goodbye to my buddy, packed my bags quickly and left the house. But when I got to the door, I saw a Maybach parked not far away. Su Qingwan got out of the car with Gu Nianchen and walked towards me. Gu Nianchen, apologize to your dad. Gu Nianchen's little pale face was tense. He clenched his clothes, bowed to me. Dad, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have called you names. And I shouldn't have said I wanted you and Mom to divorce. I know I was wrong. Will you forgive me? No need to apologize. I've already let out all the anger I had. I don't care about anything anymore. But what I didn't expect was, right after I finished speaking, Su Qingwan actually spoke up. I'm sorry I didn't raise Nianchen well. It's my fault too. Huh. I never thought I'd live to see the day. Su Qingwan apologizes on her own, but can the damage that's been done be forgiven with just a single sorry? When I remembered the stuff in my bag I'd planned to take to the airport to send to Su Qingwan, so I said directly, Su Qingwan, if you really feel sorry, then drive me to the airport. The Su family doesn't have any business outside Beijing lately. Where are you flying off to? Can't I have my own business? That's not what I meant. Su Qingwan showed a confused look for the first time, but I didn't care at all. She was the one who locked me in the Su family's cage back then. So now she ought to send me away and personally cut off our last tie completely. We didn't say a word all the way to the airport. Before I got off the car and left, I gave Su Qingwan a delicate box, A final gift. Su Kingwon froze for a second, though confused what final meant. She still reached out to take it and said thanks. Gunyanshin couldn't help tilting his little face up and asking, "Dad, where's mine?" "Yours is inside too. After all, this is a great gift for both him and his mom. It's a really nice present. They should be happy about it. Remember to open this gift an hour later." The plane should have taken off by then. Su Kingwon gave me a rare, nice look. "Come back soon." I smiled and didn't respond, turned around and left. "I'm never coming back again. I'm going after my freedom." Su Kingwon kept gazing at the lonely figure, walking into the airport. For some reason, she felt uneasy inside. She held the box and wanted to open it right away, but Gunyanshin stopped her. "Mom, we promised Dad. We can only open it after an hour. We have to keep our word." For the next hour, Su Jingwen held the documents, but couldn't get through a single page. She lost count of how many times she glanced at the gift box. Finally, the time was up. Gunyanshin rushed to open the gift box. "Mom, what on earth did Dad give us? That's so mysterious." The lid popped open with a click. Su Kingwon turned her head and saw clearly there was only a divorce certificate lying quietly inside. Even though Gunyanshin was only 3 years old, he had already started his early education. He looked at the divorce certificate in the box, mumbling to himself for a long time. "Mom, what's a divorce certificate? Didn't Dad say he was giving us a gift? Is this little book the gift?" Su Kingwon's mind went completely blank. She threw down the documents at once and took the box from Gunyanshin's hand. She didn't even notice herself, that her hands were shaking violently. The little red book with silver stamping lay quietly inside, just like the person who'd always been in the house, but had been deliberately ignored all this time. For some reason, a huge wave of panic suddenly rose in her heart. She always felt that once she opened this divorce certificate, something would be gone forever and never come back. She took a few deep breaths before opening the little red book. The moment she saw her name and Gu Yanxi's name, her pupils suddenly dilated. She snapped the divorce certificate shut. She just wanted to call Gu Yanxi, but remembered I might be on the plane right now. Irritation rose in her heart. She held back the anger of wanting to question me in person and called her assistant. "Check Mr. Gu's whereabouts. Find out where his flight is going today." "Got it. And bring him back to me immediately. Also, check who handled my divorce certificate with him. There's no divorce agreement. No court lawsuit either. How could the divorce go through?" There was panic and anger in her tone that she didn't even notice herself. The assistant on the other end was trembling with fear. Ever since he joined the company, he had always been working by Su Qingwan's side. He'd never seen her show such strong emotions before. Could the divorce be because of that Mr. Gu who had always been so low profile and easy to ignore? The assistant shook his head, finding it totally unbelievable, but he didn't show any of it on his face, just said yes and went to do his work. Su Kingwon put her hands on her hips, pacing back and forth in the huge study, but the uneasiness in her heart kept growing worse. Finally, she took out her phone and sent a friend request to me who'd blocked her long ago. "What's going on with the divorce certificate? You're a grown adult. Why are you playing such a silly prank? Text me back right now."
Nianshin and I are really worried about you.
She paused for a long time. Her fingertips tapped on the screen and typed again. "If there's any problem, we can sit down and talk about it. There's no need to do something like this. You're a father already, not a little kid." All my messages went unanswered. Su Qingwen slumped into her office chair, rubbing her temples wearily. Next to her, Gunyanshin had been quietly playing with building blocks when he suddenly lifted his little face and asked with an innocent look, "Mom, does this gift from Dad mean he's going to divorce you?" Hearing this, she felt a lump stuck in her chest that wouldn't move up or down. Her friend's earlier words rang in her ears. After a long while, she mumbled softly, "Guyansi, have you completely given up on me too?" Waiting always feels extra long. Su Qingwan lost count of how many times she checked her watch and how many messages she had sent. But she got no response at all. A wave of unexplainable grievance welled up in her heart. We were such a perfect match, and we got along really well for 5 years. Why would he suddenly divorce me and leave without a single word? Right at that moment, The phone rang. She hit answer without hesitation. Without even checking the caller ID, Gu Yancy, you actually remembered to call me. I sent you so many messages. Why didn't you reply? The person on the other end went quiet for a few seconds before speaking. President Su, it's me. Su Xingwan glanced at her phone screen, feeling like the little bit of energy she'd just regained had vanished all over again. She rubbed her temples and spoke in a low voice. Sorry. I was way too anxious just now. Do you have any news on Mr. Gu within the country? Her assistant Zhuo swallowed hard. Yes. Well, here's the thing. President Su, we found out. Mr. Gu booked a flight abroad today. But we can't find any information on his connecting flight after he lands. Su Xingwan's face clouded over completely. After a long time, she spoke hoarsely. What's the deal with the divorce certificate? Have you looked into that clearly? The assistant on the other end nodded. You signed the divorce agreement with your own hand. The forensics team and legal department have already verified the handwriting and the content. There's nothing wrong with it. The anger she'd suppressed for so long finally overcame her reason. Su Xingwan's voice was ice cold. What do you mean nothing's wrong? In the divorce agreement, Mr. Gu didn't claim any of your shared property. He basically left the marriage with nothing. All the joint property under you and your husband's name. The assets and shares belonging to Mr. Gu have all been given to Master Nianchen. He said it's the child support. He owes Master Nianchen. He didn't take any of your property. And he's not asking for custody of Master Nianchen either. The assistant on the other end was sweating bullets, wiping sweat off his forehead. He'd seen a lot working with Su Qingwan and knew plenty of wealthy family secrets, but he'd never seen anyone get a divorce this quickly and cleanly. When other people get divorced, they'd love to squeeze every last cent out of the other party. But Mr. Gu, he just left without saying a word. No one knows if he really doesn't care, or if he's just too useless. As the assistant was lost in thought, Su Xingwan hung up the phone. She clutched her phone, unable to come to her senses for a long time. She couldn't understand for him. Their marriage was going perfectly fine. Why did it fall apart all of a sudden? After a long silence, she let out a long, heavy breath, not knowing if she was asking herself for thin air. Gu Yancy, what exactly are you unhappy about? Just as she was thinking, the study door was pushed open a crack. Gu Nianchen poked his head in to look around, then squeezed in with his short little legs. He hugged Su Xingwan's leg tightly, looking up at her with eyes full of hope. Mommy, I asked Uncle Jiang, Daddy giving us the divorce certificate means I can have a new daddy now, right, Mommy? Hurry up and marry Uncle Jiang. I want Uncle Jiang to be my new daddy. When she heard this kind of thing before, Su Xingwan would just brush it off as childish nonsense. But now when she heard it, it sounded extremely harsh. Could Gu Yancy really want a divorce? Just because of what our son has been saying. Thinking of this, she frowned and scolded him. You're only 3, what do you know? You're not allowed to say things like that ever again. You only have one daddy. There's no such thing as a new daddy. Gu Nianchen was stunned by her harsh tone. His little mouth quivered, and he burst out crying loudly. I want a new daddy. I want Uncle Jiang to be my new daddy. I don't want the old daddy. He's just like a nanny all day long. He's no fun at all. Su Xingwan was seething with anger. Who told you to say all these things? She should have thought of this earlier. Gu Nianchen is just a 3-year-old kid. If no one poured these ideas into his ear, how would he even know about the divorce? How could he say his dad is a male nanny? Gu Nianchen acted like he couldn't take it anymore and rushed straight out the door. I hate Mom. If Mom won't get me a new dad, I won't come back. Su Xingwan was extremely upset. She wanted to stop him, but the phone rang again. It was a call from Zhang Jingren. She hesitated for 2 seconds. Between stopping Gu Nianchen and answering the call, Su Xingwan chose the latter first. The call was connected. Zhang Jingren's voice came over immediately. King Wan, I heard from Nianchen that you and Gu Yancy got divorced. What's going on here? It can't be the kid's nonsense, right? Su Xingwan let out a breath. There's a misunderstanding about this. I won't divorce Gu Yancy. Is there anything else? Zhang Jingren was silent for a moment. His tone sounded disappointed. We were supposed to take Nianchin to the amusement park to watch fireworks today. I didn't get any news from you and the kid, so I just wanted to ask. Sorry, I forgot about that. Let's go next time when we have a chance. When Su Qingwan hung up the phone, Gu Nianchin was already long gone. She didn't care much about it. There are so many servants in the villa. How could they not watch a 3-year-old kid? But Gu Nianchin just disappeared right under the noses of all these people, right under their watch. No one saw how he left the villa. Even the security cameras outside the villa only captured footage of him leaving alone. Su Qingwan took people and rummaged through nearly the entire Jing city thoroughly, but there was still no trace of Gu Nianchin. She dialed my number over and over again, but all that came from the receiver was always the same line. The number you dialed is powered off. Please try again later. She had no choice but to ask her assistant to find my buddy's phone number. Hello, this is Su Qingwan. Has Gu Yancy contacted you? If you have any news about him, I hope you can tell him immediately. Because he wants to divorce me. Nianchin is missing. If he has any awareness as a father, I hope he can come back right now. But before she finished speaking, my buddy interrupted her loudly and patiently. Stop, stop, stop. If your kid is lost, go call the cops. What's the use of looking for Gu Yancy anyway? Does he have telepathy with the kid? He can lock the target as soon as he comes back. Teleport directly to that little ungrateful brat. You even said the kid went missing because you two are getting divorced. He wanted a divorce because you people forced him to. Getting a divorce is the right choice. Neither you nor that little ungrateful brat are good people. The phone was hung up with a loud click, but it rang again right after. It was Zhang Jingran. Su Qingwan picked up the phone, but she only had time to hear clearly. Qingwan, help. Someone is trying to kidnap Nianchin. Let go of Nianchin. Don't be scared, watch out. The call cut off abruptly. Su Qingwan immediately ordered people to track the phone signal of Zhang Jingren. When they arrived at the scene, Zhang Jingren and Gu Nianchin had already passed out. Under the slope outside the national highway, Zhang Jingren had multiple scrapes all over his body and looked like a total mess, while Gu Nianchin was held tightly in his arms. Other than some dust on his face, he didn't get any other injuries at all. Everyone present saw this scene and were all moved. Su Qingwan clenched her hand hanging by her side tightly. She sent the two to the ambulance first. Watching the flashing red and blue lights go further and further away, she finally said one sentence to the assistant beside her. Go check what Zhang Jingren has done recently. And who he has contacted. Don't let go of any tiny clue. The assistant was stunned at first, then quickly realized what she meant. He had accompanied President Su to search the whole city, but found no trace of young Master Nianchin at all. How could Mr. Zhang Jingren find him? There are so many servants in the villa. Young Master Nianchin is just a 3-year-old kid. How could he leave without anyone noticing? If it was really a kidnapping, why didn't the kidnappers ask for ransom and throw them on the national highway? Su Qingwan has fought her way through the business world for years. With such obvious flaws, how could she not get suspicious? Soon enough, Su Qingwan got the evidence that Zhang Jingren planned the kidnapping case. Looking at the documents in her hand, she was silent for a long time. Drop the case at the police station. Keep this whole thing low-key. Destroy all the evidence. I don't want a third person to know about this. Tell the public that Zhang Jingren saved Nianchin. The assistant looked totally shocked. Ms. Su is covering up for the mastermind behind the kidnapping of her own son. Before he could figure it out, Su Qingwan's figure had already disappeared at the end of the hospital corridor. Su Qingwan pushed open the ward door and saw Zhang Jingren leaning against the hospital bed. His face was pale. He frowned unconsciously, with a hint of scrutiny in his eyes. Zhang Jingren coughed weakly twice. Nianchin, how is he doing? Is he okay? He's still so little. This incident must have hurt him badly. It's all Gu Yancy's fault. He just left out of the blue and didn't even care about his own kid. How can anyone be that irresponsible? I need to go check on Nianchin, he said as he tried to get out of bed. But when he walked past Su Qingwan, he was grabbed immediately. Su Qingwan's voice was hoarse and restrained. Whether he's a qualified father or not is no one else's business to judge. Zhang Jingren looked up at Su Qingwan's cold side profile and froze for a split second. The face that used to be gentle to him had no trace of a smile at this moment. It was shockingly cold. He couldn't help clenching his fists. Qingwen, we have years of history together. How can I be a stranger to you? He softened his tone as he spoke. I was just too anxious just now. I said something I shouldn't have. But this kidnapping was really way too horrible. Even I, as an adult, am still shaken, Nianchen. I watched him grow up, too. I really can't help feeling bad for him. Su Jingwen slightly tightened her hand hanging by her side. Her gaze at Zhang Jingren was ice cold. If you think it's so horrible and scary, why did you hire people to kidnap Nianyan and put on this self-directed show? Zhang Jingren's pale face instantly went stiff. His eyes were full of fake innocence. Qingwan, what are you talking about? Su Jingwen didn't explain, but in the way she looked at him, there was a flash of mixed emotions and disappointment. I already destroyed the evidence for you. Never show up in front of Nianchen again. I'll send you abroad and arrange everything for your future life. Don't ever come back. After saying that, she turned around to leave, but Zhang Jingren rushed over and hugged her waist tight. Qingwen, don't drive me away. If I did something wrong, I can change. All these years, we've always been together. Su Jingwen was completely unmoved. She directly grabbed his wrist, trying to pull him away. Zhang Jingren panicked right away. Qingwen, why is this happening? I admit I was a bit impatient this time. I just want to marry the person I love.
What's wrong with that?
I don't care that Nianchen is someone else's kid. I'll definitely treat him well in the future. But Su Qingwen shook him off. Her cold eyes were full of confusion. Shouldn't the person you love be my late older sister? The person I've always loved is you. You've stayed with me, cared for me, looked after me all these years. You remember my birthday? Even better than I do myself. You're always there whenever I need you. You treat me better than you treat your own husband. Don't you love me too? With a sharp twang, some unknown string in her head snapped suddenly. Su Jingwen let go of Zhang Jingren's hand and took a step back. I took care of you, only to fulfill my sister's last wish. I have no romantic feelings for you at all, and I will never marry you. The private jet for your trip abroad will be ready today. You should leave as soon as possible. After saying that, Su Qingwen left the ward without looking back. Meanwhile, I was far away in Finland, completely unaware of all this. I got my residence permit in Finland. I applied to a local university, planning to fulfill my unfinished dream of becoming a diplomatic interpreter. Before school started, I used the savings I earned over the years to buy a small house. I heard you can see the aurora here in winter. I'm really looking forward to living alone. It lets me have better control over my own time. I learned Finnish on my own, and also took German, Japanese, and Spanish as electives. In my sophomore year of college, I got accepted into the special training program for international students. Amidst my busy study and work life, I rarely think about things from the past. My marriage to Su Qingwen feels like a thing of the distant past. Here, I'm just myself, a completely independent person. In my 5th year in Finland, I successfully joined the Chinese embassy in Finland and became a diplomatic interpreter, but I had no idea. 6 years had passed. Su Jingwen never stopped looking for me. So Group CEO's office. The assistant looked overjoyed. Ms. Su, we have news about Mr. Gucker. He's at the Finnish embassy. Su Jingwen stood up abruptly. A rare trace of joy crossed her face. The assistant was totally stunned. His eyes went wide with shock. He hadn't seen Ms. Su smile in 6 years. Ever since Mr. Gu divorced her, even when she closed 100 billion yuan deals, she never showed a smile like this. Su Jingwen got up to head out right away, but she turned back right after reaching the door. I need his full current details right now. Get on it immediately. Joy was surging inside her chest. Su Jingwen couldn't help curling the corners of her mouth up. Her gaze fell on the family of 3 photo on her desk. Her fingertips traced my gentle face fondly. I will definitely clear up the misunderstanding between us and make you come back to me again. I never took the initiative to learn about the current lives of Su Qingwen and Gu Nianchen. As far as I'm concerned, they should have already gotten what they wanted, with a satisfying husband and father in their lives. I'm busy attending international conferences every day and translating documents. Life is busy and fulfilling. Until one day, my supervisor brought a Chinese version of a new energy project proposal to me. Yansi. You're the most capable person in our department. This project proposal is highly valued by Business Finland. They hope you can finish the translation as soon as possible. I looked at the thick stack of project documents and smiled openly and frankly. Don't worry, sir. I'll get it done for sure. But when I opened the project proposal, I realized it was a plan from Sue Group.
수징원.
That familiar figure popped into my head again. I shook my head, took a deep breath, and comforted myself. Sue Group has projects all over the world. It's normal for her to launch new projects in Finland. It's probably just a coincidence. After pulling several all-nighters, I took the translated project proposal and knocked on my supervisor's office door. My supervisor flipped through a few pages briefly and nodded repeatedly. No wonder even the senior leader praised you when he visited. Your work ability is really outstanding. I've worked with my supervisor for 2 years, so I know his personality really well. Whenever he starts praising someone, there's definitely a tough task coming. But who doesn't love hearing nice things, right? Most of the colleagues in the department got tricked into extra work after being praised by him. Come on, boss, stop beating around the bush. Just tell me what task you have for me. If you keep praising me, my head will get so big it'll float to the ceiling. Sue Group from China is coming to Finland for a field visit. The Finnish side also takes this very seriously. For this diplomatic translation work, I've already signed you up. We can't just work all day, every day. We need to balance our personal life, too. I remember you're still single, right? I heard the Sue Group representative is young and promising. Take this opportunity. You two should get to know each other more. My heart skipped a beat. Could the Sue representative be Su Ching-wan? There's no way it's that big of a coincidence, right? When the Sue Group representatives arrived in Finland, my supervisor took me to the airport to greet them. Yansi. The Finnish side has prepared a dinner for the Sue Group representatives. It won't be a super formal occasion. Just relax when you're translating. Oh, you don't have to be too nervous. I'll introduce you to the Sue Group representatives later. As soon as he finished speaking, I saw my supervisor waving behind me. Mrs. Sue over here. When my supervisor pulled me over to Su Ching-wan, I was still frozen in shock, not processing what was happening. 6 years had passed. Time didn't seem to have left any traces on her. She was still as quiet and reserved as before, until my supervisor pushed me forward a little and introduced me with a big smile. Miss Sue, let me introduce you to someone. This is Gu Yansi from the translation department of the foreign ministry at the Chinese embassy in Finland. Comrade! He will be your accompanying interpreter for the entire duration of your trip. Don't let Yansi's young age and good looks fool you. He's fluent in 5 languages. Su Ching-wan stared straight at me in front of her. Her eyes were full of curiosity and inquiry, with a hint of unidentifiable emotion. I held out my hand with a smile, polite but distant in my attitude. Nice to meet you, President Sue. She stared at me for a few seconds, with unreadable emotion in her eyes, before she finally reached out to shake my hand. Running into Su Ching-wan was totally unexpected. I just wanted to get this over with quickly, pull my hand back and leave. But she held my hand tight and wouldn't let go. I tried pulling away twice. I couldn't help frowning, my tone also turning cold. What do you mean by this, President Sue? The manager standing nearby glanced at her, then glanced at me. He seemed to notice the awkward atmosphere too, and quickly tried to smooth things over. Translator Gu's good looks and unique charm always leave a deep impression on people. Looks like President Sue is no exception, huh? Su Ching-wan's eyes dimmed as she let go of my hand. She rarely tugged at the corner of her mouth to agree. That's right. She didn't say anything else, and let go of my hand just like I hoped. The dinner party started very soon. I didn't pay her any mind. So what if it's just a short interaction? She definitely didn't come here specifically for me anyway. I collected myself as I thought this, and sat down next to Su Ching-wan, translating every sentence calmly. The woman had her long legs crossed, looking elegant and noble. She tilted her head slightly when listening. I paused for a split second without meaning to. During the 5 draining years of my marriage to Su Ching-wan, she never seemed to listen to me this carefully. A faint stinging pain rose in my chest. It wasn't for her. It was for myself. For the empty shell I was as the son-in-law of the Su family. For all those years, my soul was trapped with no freedom. Luckily, I finally got out of that mess now. Su Ching-wan's voice kept going. I'd like to know about Finland's tax and labor laws. Her voice was low and slow. She would look at me quietly after every sentence, her gaze calm and focused. I avoided her gaze instinctively and did my job strictly following official protocol. The negotiation at this dinner went very smoothly for both sides. When we said goodbye, I tightened my scarf against the Finnish wind and snow. I wore sheepskin gloves as I shook hands with Su Ching-wan briefly. "Happy working with you, President Su." I turned around to leave after saying that. The second I opened the car door, the woman behind me suddenly called my name. I froze in my steps, but didn't turn around, waiting quietly for what she would say next. The wind was so cold my fingertips went a little stiff. Her voice finally came again. "Don't you have anything you want to say to me?" I don't know if it's just my imagination, but there was a faint, strange note of grievance in her hoarse voice. My heart skipped a beat. I just told myself it was because the Finnish polar night was too cold. "President Su, I've already finished all the translation work for the dinner. As for anything else, I have nothing to say." But Su Ching-wan didn't seem willing to let me leave just like that. Her usually cold and calm voice now laced with urgency.
"Guyanzi."
"You left without a word when we got divorced. Even if you didn't care about how I felt, did you not care about Nyanchen's feelings at all? It's been 6 years, Nyanchen is already 9 years old. Don't you miss him even a little bit?" I turned around and smiled without letting any emotion show on my face. A kid who ignores his father's efforts is not worth missing at all. Besides, he's probably really happy to have a new dad now, right? Snow fell on Su Ching-wan's shoulders. There was a hint of confusion in her gaze as she looked at me. Then she sighed in resignation and walked towards me through the snow, her voice softer than usual for once. "Nyanchen didn't ignore your efforts. He's just too young. He doesn't know how to love people yet. There's no such thing as a new dad for him. His dad can only ever be you." My eyes landed on Su Ching-wan's face. I couldn't help finding this a little funny. Knowing how to love someone has nothing to do with age. Su Ching-wan and Gu Nyanchen could remember Jiang Jingren's birthday. They even put in the effort to carve a safety amulet for him themselves. How can you say this mother and son don't know how to love people? They just don't know how to love me. I leaned against the car casually and looked her up and down, and couldn't help wondering, if I was still her husband right now, would she stand in front of me like this and talk to me this calmly for so long? I shook my head and laughed bitterly at myself. Su Ching-wan frowned in confusion. "What are you laughing at?" I didn't care about her stare at all. "Wouldn't you laugh if you heard something funny? Su Ching-wan, no matter if we're divorced or not, we were never the type to catch up on old times. You barely know anything about me anyway, and I have no interest in recalling anything related to you." With that, I ignored the hesitation on her face where she seemed about to speak, and got straight in the car. I slammed on the gas and sped off. When I got home, I washed up and collapsed into bed. A deep wave of exhaustion washed over me. I fell asleep almost immediately. In the middle of the night, my neighbor's hound started barking wildly. It woke me up. I took a few deep breaths to pull myself together. I put on some clothes and went to the window to check what was going on. I saw Su Ching-wan still wearing that same long black dress. Standing right outside my door, I had no idea how she found my address. The average temperature during polar night in Finland is minus 20 to 30 degrees Celsius. Dressed like that, if she stood outside all night, I'd probably find a human-shaped ice block here tomorrow morning. Even though I had no clue what she wanted, I still opened the door and let my ex-wife in. I didn't want her freezing to death on my doorstep after all. In front of the warm fireplace, I handed Su Ching-wan a cup of coffee out of politeness. She was shivering uncontrollably from the cold. She held the warm mug with both hands, and only let out a breath and smiled at me after a long while. "Thank you." My eyes flickered slightly. She rarely smiled at me. Most of the time she was cold and expressionless.
"Su Ching-wan."
"What on earth do you want?" Su Ching-wan lowered her eyes. The frost on her eyelashes slowly melted. Maybe it was because it was so cold, but her voice had a faint tremble when she spoke. "I want to know why we got divorced." I frowned and stared at her face. She met my gaze calmly. Her eyes were filled with genuine confusion and bewilderment. A mess of emotions stirred in my chest. So everything we went through in those 5 years had really been completely ignored by her. I breathed out slowly. I suddenly regretted letting her inside. I should have just turned off the lights and gone to sleep, and left her to freeze outside. The woman hesitated for a long time before saying 2 unfamiliar words. "Jense," It was ridiculous. The first time she ever called my name seriously. It was 6 years after we got divorced. The look I gave Su Jingwan couldn't help but carry a hint of sarcasm. Su Jingwan, have you ever thought that the reason you don't know why we got divorced is precisely because of you? Su Jingwan froze for a split second. A rare look of confusion crossed her face. She was always like this. Her privileged upbringing, successful career, and sharp mind made her more than capable of handling everything that came her way. But they also made her completely indifferent to everything around her. It was like no matter how things played out, nothing would ever stray from the path she laid out. Maybe I was one of the very few exceptions. For some reason, my eyes felt inexplicably warm, but I quickly adjusted my posture and pushed down the bitter feeling rising in my chest. Su Jingwan, I told you so many times before we got divorced. Since both you and Nianshan liked Zhang Jingren so much, I'd agree to the divorce. I would also give up custody of Nianshan and leave the marriage with nothing. All our joint property would be transferred to Nianshan's name. Consider it child support from his unpopular dad. I told you every single one of these words clearly. At this point, I looked at Su Jingwan. Do you remember any of that? Su Jingwan unconsciously tightened her grip on the mug. Her brows furrowed, like she was trying hard to remember something, but the confusion in her eyes gave her away. She couldn't remember a thing. Of course I expected this result, because she never bothered to listen carefully to anything I said when I was her husband. Back then, I was just a partner in name only to her. Su Jingwan kept her head down, her voice full of regret and guilt. I'm sorry, I really don't remember you saying any of that. Maybe I was busy at the time. But this is the reason you divorced me. I really can't accept this as an excuse. Then what about the perfume smell? On your clothes every night when you came home. Is that reason enough for me to divorce you? Su Jingwan's expression froze. She seemed to finally catch the contradiction in my words, but then shook her head like she couldn't believe it. Zhang Jingren? You divorced me because of him. The shock in Su Jingwan's voice grew even stronger. Like getting divorced over Zhang Jingren was even more ridiculous than divorcing her because she never listened to me. I just drank my coffee and nodded indifferently. That's right. You came home every day reeking of Zhang Jingren's scent. Nianshan kept talking nonstop about how he wanted Uncle Zhang to be his new dad. Was I supposed to keep clinging to the position of the Su family's son-in-law that I never even wanted in the first place? Su Jingwan's face went pale for a rare moment. So you thought I was cheating on you? I held up one finger and waved it in front of her. It's not suspicion. When you took Zhang Jingren to all kinds of events and made no attempt to hide it when you let others introduce him. When your friends mocked me and snickered that you and Zhang Jingren were a better match. When you were in a hurry to stay with Zhang Jingren, you signed without even glancing at the divorce agreement. It doesn't matter at all whether you cheated or not. I divorced you. Simply because I don't want to trap myself in the cage of being the Su family's son-in-law. Su Jingwan, playing that fake role with nothing but an empty title. Divorcing you is just so I don't trap myself in the cage of being the Su family's son-in-law, Su Jingwan, and be that meaningless figurehead. I never wanted that for myself either. Su Jingwan's eyelashes trembled. She didn't speak for a long time. Maybe she didn't expect me to say all this, or maybe she never cared about my real feelings at all. She just wants to find a chance to review her own failure, but as far as I'm concerned, none of this is necessary, because you like Zhang Jingren. You remember his birthday? Prepare elaborate gifts and surprises for him, and know all his preferences like the back of your hand. You love Zhang Jingren. So this failed relationship of mine won't even appear in your future married life. I lifted my hand to check the time. It was 4:30 a.m. A wave of tiredness washed over me. I spoke to see her out. President Su, I think you've got all the answers you wanted, right? Please leave early, I need to rest. Before I could finish my sentence, I heard a very clear and solemn voice. I was stunned for a moment. I couldn't even get the words stuck in my throat out. Su Jingwan was staring at me without blinking. I'm sorry, I had no idea about all this. All the details I didn't notice made you suffer so much grievance. This is all my fault. I apologize to you. I couldn't help but find this a little funny. Getting an apology from the arrogant Su Jingwan must make me one of a kind, right? Suddenly, Su Jingwan spoke up sharply, cutting off my train of thought. But there's one thing I don't agree with you on. I didn't cheat. I don't like Jiang Jingran at all. I take care of him and never say no to his requests to fulfill my late sister's last wish. The reason I didn't correct people when they called him brother-in-law is also because I think if my sister were still alive, he would indeed be the rightful brother-in-law. None of that matters anymore. She seemed stung by my indifferent attitude. A flash of hurt crossed her eyes. No, this is very important. These 6 years you've been gone, Nianshin and I have missed you so much. I hope I can clear up the hard feelings in your heart and get you to come back to the family. For a split second, I really thought Su Qingwan was joking. I waited 10 whole years to get my freedom, and now she's asking me to come back to the family. A shaking laugh burst out of my chest. I really couldn't stop laughing out loud. A look of confusion flashed across Su Qingwan's face. She really didn't seem to understand what I was laughing at. I lifted my hand to wipe the tears spilling from the corner of my eyes. I took several deep breaths to barely calm myself down. Su Qingwan, are you kidding me? I finally got divorced from you after so much hardship. Now I have my own career too. How could I possibly come back to the family? Besides, what would I even do if I came back? Run around doing everything for you like a housekeeper? Go to your company every day to bring you that ridiculous seafood congee. You feel guilty towards your sister. You want to fulfill her last wish and take good care of Jiang Jingren. There's no need to drag me into that, right? After all, I don't owe your sister anything. I don't owe Jiang Jingren anything. And I definitely don't owe you anything. Su Jingwen tried to say something else, but I had already walked to the door and yanked the door open. Cold wind blew in carrying piles of snow. Get out. Don't make me say it again. Su Jingwen finally left, but I was so exhausted I couldn't fall asleep no matter what. I stayed up like that until morning. I barely pulled myself together to go to work at the translation department of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but as soon as I got to the office, I got hit with a piece of bad news. My supervisor stood in front of me speaking sincerely. Yancy, even though you haven't worked here for long, you have a positive work attitude and excellent capabilities. This time, the domestic Su Group is going to launch a new energy project construction in Finland. It will also be of great benefit to the relations between the two countries. Leaders of relevant Finnish departments want to take this opportunity to go back to China with President Su for inspection. We are short of an accompanying interpreter. I have already submitted the request to the higher authorities. This time, you'll represent our Ministry of Foreign Affairs on the trip back home. You've been away for 6 years already. Take this opportunity to go back and reunite with your family. I listened with a smile on my face, but my mind was already racing a mile a minute inside. This is all Su Qingwan's fault. So much trouble popped up the second she arrived. I had no choice but to force a smile and stand up. Rest assured, sir, I will definitely get the job done. That same afternoon, Su Qingwan, the inspection delegation, and I boarded the special plane back to China together. I have no idea who arranged the seating. There was only one armrest between Su Qingwan and me. I rubbed the space between my brows tiredly and turned my head away to avoid looking at her. We both clearly stayed up all night, but Su Qingwan didn't look tired at all. Before long, a soft, thick blanket was draped over me. Su Qingwan moved very gently, as if she was afraid of waking me up. But I wasn't asleep. I just didn't want to even glance at her. For me, she was once the person I truly loved and adored, but she's also the shackle that trapped me. The relationship between us was completely broken the second we signed the divorce agreement, but I never expected that right after getting off the plane, I would see my son, the one I only share. A blood relation with Gu Nianshin was held by Su's mother, standing in the waiting area. He's 9 this year and has grown a lot taller. His eyes were all red and puffy. The second he saw me, he yelled out loudly, "Dad!" The leaders of the inspection delegation looked at each other in confusion. Someone quietly asked what was going on. I kept a polite smile on my face and replied calmly, "This little boy probably can't find his dad." Su Qingwan, who was standing nearby, darkened her face immediately. "So he can understand Finnish, huh?" Gu Nianshin tried to run over to me, but was stopped by Su's mother. This elegant and decent old woman didn't let him keep crying and making a fuss, and pulled him away instead. Su's mother definitely didn't come here out of kindness. She didn't come all this way just to let father and son meet. She probably wants to use Gu Nianshin to force me.
into doing something, who knows?
But I have no reason to be obedient and follow her orders anymore. The days I spent accompanying the Finnish inspection delegation on visits to the Sioux group went pretty smoothly. After all, Su Ching-wan never makes mistakes at work. But as soon as the inspection work ended, she came to find me. Do you want to come home with me to see Nyanshin? He misses you a lot. Misses me? I shook my head. No need. He never liked me much before, and now I've been gone for 6 whole years. He should hate me even more now. He likes Jung Jingren as his dad. If you want to fulfill your sister's last wish, you'd better marry Jung Jingren sooner. That way everyone gets what they want. So your future husband won't have to help you take care of the kid. Su Gingwan sighed tiredly. Guyanzi. Do we have to talk to each other like this? I glanced at her coldly. You don't like hearing this. We could have not talked at all. After saying that, I packed up my stuff and went straight back to the hotel I was staying at. There's no need for me to go back to the Sioux family at all. When I found out my buddy was also in the country, I was in a really good mood and immediately asked him to hang out. The second we saw each other, I saw his eyes light up instantly. He grabbed my hand and spun me around to look me over several times, then finally hugged me and said emotionally, "Dude, this is awesome. This is how you're supposed to look." We haven't seen each other for 6 years, so we had endless stuff to talk about when we got together. Once we started talking, a few hours flew by in the blink of an eye. We were right in the middle of a great conversation. When my phone rang out of nowhere, it was an unknown domestic number. I frowned and hesitated for a moment, but ended up answering it anyway. A tentative woman's voice came from the other end. "Hello, is this Gu Nianshin's father? I'm his homeroom teacher." Gu Nianshin got into a fight with another classmate at school. I tried calling his mom, but he told me to contact you instead. My buddy, who was cut off mid-sentence, angrily took my phone from me. "Nah, you got the wrong number." And he hung up the phone right after. Is Su Ching-wan freaking crazy? You two are already divorced. And you gave up custody rights. You've only been back in the country for a few days. She's just looking for trouble for no reason. Before he even finished speaking, the phone rings again. I pick up the call once more. The teacher on the other end sounds anxious and impatient. "Father of Gu Nianshin, I'm here. Please come over as soon as possible. Don't let adult issues affect kids' physical and mental development. What's more, Gu Nianshin broke a classmate's head. The other kid's parents are rushing you to take the child to hospital." I had no choice, so my buddy and I rushed to the school. Inside the teacher's office, several kids all looked dusty and disheveled, but all other kids were accompanied by their parents. Only Gu Nianshin had no one standing behind him. The injured student's parent held their own kid in arms, pointed at Gu Nianshin and scolded him harshly. "How can you be so ruthless at such a young age? Didn't your dad teach you not to hit others casually?" Before this parent finished speaking, several kids standing nearby giggled and laughed together cheekily, all yelling that he has no dad. Gu Nianshin's eyes turned red with anger right away. He rushed up like a little wolf cub to fight again. You could tell the Sioux family must have arranged systematic combat courses for him, but the other kid was protected by their parent after all. He saw me standing at the door. His eyes turned red instantly. I could see his tears welling up in his eyes, but he bit his lower lip tightly, turned his head and got up straight away. I ignored Gu Nianshin's awkward attitude, walked in and glanced over everyone present, gave a brief self-introduction. "I'm Gu Nianshin's biological father. I have already divorced his mother, and I don't have custody of him. You can discuss all compensation matters with his mother, Su Ching-wan." Right after I spoke, Gu Nianshin looked up in disbelief. From the corner of my eye, I saw him quickly bow his head and wipe his eyes. He moved so fast as if afraid I would notice. Didn't this kid always beg me to divorce his mom when he was little? Where are these tears coming from now? When Su Ching-wan was mentioned, the several parents exchanged glances with each other. Their arrogance faded a lot. Su Gingwan's name has long occupied the front page headlines of the finance section. There are barely any people who don't know her. A small problem like this can be solved easily, even if she doesn't show up in person, but she just had to dump this problem on me. Does she think this will awaken my fatherly love for him? Did she forget? Love has to be mutual. Father of Gu Nianshin, even if you are divorced from Ms. Su, regarding the matter of Gu Nianshin hitting someone, you have to give us an explanation at least. I nodded. My gaze landed lightly on Gunyanshin. Why did you fight? Gunyanshin held his neck stiff and refused to speak. If you don't want to talk, wait till your mom comes. I have other things to do. I don't have time to waste on you. Before I finished speaking, Gunyanshin acted like an enraged little beast. They said I don't have a dad. Are you happy now? Why won't Mom marry Uncle Jong? He would never treat me like you do. Ignoring me completely, I hate you. I waited till he finished yelling and raised my eyebrow. When your mom and I were still married, you wanted Jang Jingren to be your dad. Yelling at me was somewhat understandable. Now your mom and I are already divorced. Go find whoever you want to be your dad yourself. The several parents looked at each other in shock. Sighs and whispers reached my ears. A kid this young already instigates his parents to divorce. No wonder his dad doesn't want him. I think I've seen that Jang Jingran before. He often attends various events with Ms. Su. I thought he was Ms. Su's husband. Didn't expect he's the third party. Gunyanshin is at the rebellious age right now. He couldn't stand hearing this kind of words. He made a move to run outside, but he retreated after just a few steps. Su Jingwan walked over quickly with her assistant and bodyguards. Her face was completely expressionless. Full of strong sense of oppression, the whole office felt much more crowded once she arrived. Her sharp gaze swept across everyone present. What's going on here? Everyone looked at the person next to them, then looked away awkwardly. None of them said a word. Gunyanshin also seemed to be very scared of her. He hung his head and didn't even dare to breathe loudly. I glanced at her calmly. Good thing you're here. As the child's legal guardian, you should be the one handling this kind of matter. I'll leave first. I ignored the two people calling after me from behind. My buddy was furious when he saw me come back. That little ungrateful brat isn't worth your care. You have no idea after you left back then. He kept making a big fuss, begging Jang Jingren to be his new dad. Su Gingwan slapped him for that. He then threw a fit and wanted to run away from home. He almost got kidnapped. I heard it was Jang Jingren who risked the danger to save him back, you know. It's safe to say their feelings are mutual. I headed straight to the bar with my buddy. I quickly forgot all about that little incident at school. Little did I know. When my buddy and I stumbled out of the bar drunk, I ran straight into Su Qingwan and her son. She was holding Gunyanshin's hand. No telling how long they'd been waiting outside. The second she saw me, her eyes flickered slightly. Nyansi, we need to talk. Su Qingwan never gives up until she gets what she wants. I didn't want to waste time arguing with her, so I told my buddy to call a designated driver and head home first. I got in the car with Su Qingwan and her son. Gunyanshin sat in the passenger seat. Su Qingwan and I sat in the back. The atmosphere in the car was super tense. I could almost hear the driver swallowing nervously. The car finally stopped in front of a restaurant. The waiter came over politely to open the door, but Su Qingwan got to it first. I ignored the hand she held out to me and got straight out of the car. This was the same restaurant I booked for my birthday 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I asked Su Qingwan out to celebrate my birthday with me, but she never replied. She even booked out the whole venue for Jang Jingren, so I didn't even get to eat anything. 6 years later, she actually booked the whole place just for me. Too bad I don't care about this stuff anymore. I sat down in the chair and got straight to the point. Just say whatever you came here to say. But I'll tell you two things first. Custody transfer is out of the question, and getting remarried is also impossible. Su Gingwan frowned tightly. She looked like she wanted to say something, but held back. Gunyanshin was glaring at me. His eyes were all red like he was about to cry. But now I won't stay up all night just because he's crying nonstop to comfort him anymore. Finally, Su Qingwan was the first to speak up. If you didn't like me, why did you marry me in the first place? I always thought we were a good match. You were the most suitable son-in-law for the Su family. A hint of barely noticeable pain flashed in her eyes, but I was caught up in those memories that make my entire body go cold even now. Don't tell me you think, just because I've always been first in my grade, I actually love studying. When I turned 16, I was picked by your family to be groomed as the Su family's son-in-law. I hated this arrangement, so I rebelled and started dating early. Right after that, they sent me to a boarding academy. I wasn't let out until it was time to marry you. Those memories, I still don't want to think about them to this day, so I never wanted to be your husband, not back then, and definitely not now. I did once hope we could have a happy marriage, and a loving, harmonious family. But you all shattered that hope with your own hands. And you made me realize for real that the Sue family is nothing but a cage that would trap me to death. If I never left it, I have a new life now. The best thing you can do is leave me alone. As for this restaurant, that night 6 years ago, I already thought it was completely disgusting. I didn't give her and her son a chance to say anything else after that. I grabbed my bag and walked straight out. Just as I got to the door, I heard a soft whimper from behind me. I had no idea you went through all that. But I still have to ask. You said you once wanted a happy marriage. Does that mean you once liked me? If that's the case, is there any chance we could start over? Even just a tiny chance. I didn't turn around and I didn't answer. Little did I know, the next noon, my long-absent father showed up out of nowhere. He had an apologetic, ingratiating smile on his face. Where have you been all these years? Why haven't you called home even once? I looked at the new gray hairs on his temples. I couldn't name what I was feeling. This man who used to be so powerful he could control me however he wanted was now bowing his head in front of me. It felt like all the things that used to haunt me weren't actually unbeatable after all. Mr. Gu, just say what you came to say. No need to beat around the bush. He didn't seem to expect me to speak to him. In such a cold and distant tone, his smile froze for a second. He could barely keep it on his face. Dad didn't come here for any big reason. I just thought, you haven't been home in so many years. Would you come back home for a meal? President Sue has been really kind to our family lately. I can tell she still has feelings for you. You didn't even talk to the family before you got divorced. If you come home this time, maybe our two families can talk things over again. After all, you were supposed to marry President Sue ever since you were 16, right? I caught what he was really implying. My smile got even colder. You mean Su Xingwan and I can get remarried? Father Gu nodded repeatedly. Those shrewd yet clouded eyes were once again full of calculation. I couldn't help sneering. What benefits and resources did the Sue family promise you this time? Partnerships or projects? If the Gu family can only survive by selling their son, you might as well go bankrupt as soon as possible. I didn't hold back at all with my words. At that, Father Gu could no longer keep the smile on his face. You've been away a few years and now you're all grown up, huh? Is that how you talk to your father? If it weren't for some random gossip who told Su Qingwan that I sent you to that academy, she wouldn't have suddenly pulled all her investment from our family. In just one night, the market value of my Gu group dropped by half. No matter what, you have to come with me to see her today. As he said that, he reached out to grab my arm. I shook him off immediately, but I agreed to go back with him anyway. This rotten dead weight of the Gu family is about time I got rid of it. An hour later at the Su family's old residence, I saw Su Qingwan again in the living room. Gu Nianchen was sitting next to her. I ignored both of them and walked straight to a seat to sit down. Su Qingwan thought for a moment before speaking up. Gu Yanqi! I came today. You don't need to tell me what you're here for. For me, it's best if you just don't show up. Su Qingwan's eyes dimmed instantly. She let out a sigh after a long while. I don't mean to force you, She didn't get a chance to finish her sentence again. This time it was Father Gu who cut her off. Father Gu smiled and took out a nice bottle of wine, placing it on the table. He pretended to be warm and greeted Su Qingwan and her son. Come, try this fine wine I've been saving. Gu Yanqi has been stubborn since he was a kid. I already gave him a talking to. The reason he came back this time is to live a good life with you, President Sue. Let's pick an auspicious day later and hold another wedding. He obsequiously poured wine for Su Qingwan, maybe in his eyes. I've always just been an accessory, a tool that can be used for profit exchanges. Definitely not an independent person, no matter what. But the one who responded wasn't Su Qingwan. It was the Gu family's front door being suddenly pushed open. Several bodyguards pushed the door open and poured inside. Right after them walked in a man, in an executive jacket. What era is this? Arranged marriages are still a thing. And you even dare poach people from our Ministry of Foreign Affairs. For a moment, the entire atmosphere in the Gu family turned icy cold. Father Gu hurried forward to curry favor. Sir? What brings you here? The old man snorted coldly. His gaze at him was as sharp as an ice spear. Arranged marriages were abolished by the marriage law back in 1950. But today you forcefully took our Ministry of Foreign Affairs colleague here. This is disrespectful to him, and even a provocation to the system. Are you trying to turn back the wheel of history? Those two short sentences left Father Gu frozen on the spot. Even the person who always treated me like a nanny stared blankly at the old man. What Ministry of Foreign Affairs colleague? This is a family dinner. Why would there be someone from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs here? You must be joking. The old leader ignored him and only gave me a kind smile. Yanshi, come here. Seeing the old man was looking at me, Father Gu became even more confused.
Sir?
You must have mistaken him for someone else, right? My son never even went to college. How could he work for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? He got divorced and ran away from home a few years ago. Before he could finish his sentence, the bodyguards on both sides stepped forward and restrained him. I stood up under everyone's shocked gazes and walked to the old man's side. I said apologetically, "I'm so sorry, sir, that you had to make a trip here over my family matters." Before Father Gu took me away, I sent a message to my friend who's also a diplomat. This old man is a senior leader of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. When I first started working at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, I met him once before. The old man waved his hand dismissively. You're an outstanding comrade of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Young as you are, you're fluent in 5 languages and have great work capabilities. I'm ending your family leave early.
Do you have any problem with that?
Of course not. I've been dying to get back to work. The old man nodded. A white plate Hongqi car drove straight into the Gu family's gate. Several police cars followed right behind it. I escorted the old leader to the back seat of the Hongqi car. I just closed the car door. When I saw officers get off the police car and show their IDs to Gu's father. According to our investigation, the school you sent Gu Yanxi to earlier has legal issues. Please come with us for further investigation. I didn't do anything wrong. This has nothing to do with me. What right do you have to arrest me? Gu's father yelled loudly to claim his innocence, but no one paid him any attention. The family dinner ended on a terrible note. I was about to get in the car and leave with my old leader, when a muffled sob suddenly came from behind me. Dad? My hand holding the car door tightened unconsciously. The old leader turned to look at me and nodded. Being a diplomat is different from other jobs. You are stationed abroad all year round. You barely get chances to meet your family as it is. You should handle some matters as early as possible. After saying these words, the old leader left first. I turned to look at Su Qingwan and her son. Gu Nianchen was holding his mom's hand tightly. His eyes were filled with tears when he looked at me. He choked back sobs and tilted his head up forcefully, as if he was trying hard not to let his tears fall. Do you really not want to be my dad anymore?
Do you really not want me anymore?
Gu Nianchen bit his lip, as if he could barely get the words out. Mom and I have missed you so much these past few years. I often catch her in the study staring blankly at your photo. I was too immature to know better when I said those things before. Can you please forgive me? I looked at him, and suddenly felt a little sad. He is my son, after all. It is impossible for me to say that I don't care about him at all. I can let go of the past now, but I can't forgive on behalf of my past self. So I looked at him calmly and gently. We haven't spent much time together. In the only 3 years we had, for a year and a half of that, you didn't have a full understanding of the world. I held you every single day back then, and kept teaching you how to speak. But you probably don't remember much of that. Later, when you had a basic understanding of the world, instead of accepting me as your father, you wanted to call someone else dad more, even though you were just a confused kid. The hurt I felt at that moment was real. I was absent from your growth for the next 6 years, and never cared about your education. Logically speaking, I have no right to blame you or teach you anything. But today, I still want to tell you one truth. Even if you are just a kid, being a kid is not an excuse. That makes what you did forgivable, Gu Nianchen. As soon as I finished speaking, a heart-wrenching scream came from behind me. Dad, I know I was wrong. I paused for a split second, but didn't stop walking in the end. Call me cold-hearted, or call me irresponsible. No matter what other people say, I have already given Gu Nianchen the best of everything, Staying with Su Ching-wan, he can get the best education, and he will get more than enough care and love. He will inherit the entire Su group in the future. He has way more than he thinks he does. Thinking of this, a faint smile tugged at the corner of my mouth, and I walked faster out of the Gu family residence. The day I returned to Finland, Su Hung-wan came to the airport to see me off. She didn't ask about getting remarried or anything like that again. She just looked at me quietly. Jens, if I could do it all over again, I would definitely cherish you and love you properly. Instead of being like this now, only regretting it after I lost you. I always thought you would stay by my side forever. I just never expected that everything I did never made you feel happy at all. Yancy, I'm really sorry. I didn't respond to her. I just looked up at the boarding information board. You saw me off last time too, right? But we didn't get to say a proper goodbye back then. Let's say a proper goodbye this time, Su Ching-wan. Can you... She hesitated for a long time but couldn't finish a complete sentence. I stood in front of her and opened my arms to her. Don't be so sad, okay? I'm basically an old friend who knows you well, right? Let's have a hug. Before I finished speaking, I was pulled into a warm hug out of nowhere. The unique scent of Su Ching-wan wrapped around me. She held me really, really tight. I sighed and raised my hand to pat Su Ching-wan's back gently. Her shoulders were shaking violently, which made it a little hard for me to breathe too. My voice cracked when I spoke. I know, please take good care of Nianshin in the future. If you meet someone suitable for you, just build a new family again, okay? Remember to treat her well. Su Ching-wan held me in her arms. I shook my head. A cold drop of liquid fell on my neck. I can't help sighing that fate really loves to play tricks on people. I always thought Su Ching-wan had no feelings for me at all, so I left firmly without dragging things out. I thought my departure would be the best option for everyone, but I never expected we'd all end up with regrets. Maybe this relationship was also a regret for Su Ching-wan. The woman pressed close to my ear. Her voice was terribly hoarse. I'm so sad. I've never hugged you this seriously before. For a second, hot tears welled up in my eyes, but then I smiled with relief. It doesn't matter anymore, Su Ching-wan. We all have to move forward, don't look back. She held my hand, stared right into my eyes, super seriously. I won't get a new husband. And Nianshin will only ever have one dad, because I know what happened in the past hurt you a lot. You don't want to forgive us, but Nianshin and I will wait for you. If one day you want to see us, just let me know. No matter where I am, I will definitely bring Nianshin to you right away. My door is always open for you. Before she finished speaking, a little figure darted out from behind an airport pillar. Gu Nianshin's eyes were red. His voice was full of affection. Daddy? I know I was wrong. I'll wait for you. I'll wait until you want to be my daddy again. I squatted down, just like I comforted him a million times when he was little. I gently wiped the tears off his face. I'm sorry, Nianshin. I can't stay by your side forever, but I'll always be your dad. No one can change that. But before I became your dad, I had to be myself first. May passengers taking Finnair flight AY52 please proceed to the boarding gate for check-in. Attention, passengers traveling to Helsinki. Your flight is now boarding. I stood up and patted Gu Nianshin's head one last time. Then I looked up at Su Ching-wan. Take the kid. And go home, okay? After saying that, I picked up the small suitcase beside me and turned around right away. The plane climbed above the clouds. The whole city looked like a grid of glowing lights. Maybe our blood tie will give us plenty of chances to meet again. But my choice will never change. There's still a long way ahead in the future. This time, I'm living only for myself.